So today I want to talk about why it's so important to emphasize your strengths over your weaknesses. Why I think you should focus on getting good at your strengths, getting your strengths to like a 10 out of 10, rather than working on your weaknesses, which are a 2 out of 10, and trying to get them to like a 5 out of 10. Because during my football journey, I realized that all the guys who started, all the guys who started are the ones where they may not have been the most well-rounded, but they always had like one or two like special traits about them. The guys on the bench were more the guys where it's like they were solid players, yeah, but it was more like they didn't really have that thing that made them stand out from everyone else. Like I remember when I was about probably like 13, 14, I was looking around the changing room. I was thinking, I was just thinking to myself, okay, why does this guy start? Why does this guy start? Why does this guy not start? And I looked around at like the starting 11 who normally start, and all of us pretty much like had that one thing about us where it was like that made us stand out. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously, let's say for example, our left winger had a great delivery. Obviously, had a great left foot and a great delivery. Basically, could cross the ball, free kicks, every free kick on target. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, he had that. Our striker, he didn't have the best touch in the world. He wasn't the best technically, but he was quick. Like literally, if he knocked the ball, he could just knock the ball past the defender and go, and they weren't catching him. And even it can come down to like simple things. Like literally, our left back, he started literally every single game, and it's not like he was this generational Marcelo type left back. Nah, he literally started left back literally because he was the only left-footed defender. That's it. Simply because he was left-footed, he got to start every single game. So yeah, this is the thing about having like one or two extraordinary traits and not having to be the most sort of well-rounded, if you get what I'm saying. Like I remember for me, I always started because I was pretty much only the only midfielder who could like sort of like take a touch and pass the ball, sort of slow the game down, sort of like Jorginho type. Most of our midfielders were like workhorses, you know, like the Conor Gallagher workhorse type midfielders. No one could really like just get the ball down and play. Everyone was just 100 miles an hour. I was like the only one who could sort of like just slow the game down. You know what I'm saying? Slow the game down, control the tempo type thing. And to be honest, yeah, you see this a lot in professional football. Most of the top players, or a lot of the top players, they aren't really the most well-rounded, but they always have those one or two, maybe three extraordinary traits. Like, let's take Trent for example. Trent for Liverpool. Trent, as we saw for England, Trent really can't play on the half turn. He can't really play in midfield because he ain't that good on the half turn. And then even at right back, he can't really defend either. But what Trent does have, he's got them crosses. He's got them crosses, them deliveries. He can take set pieces and he can shoot. And obviously that makes him a valuable asset for Liverpool. So anytime Liverpool at their best, you saw Trent all the time. Them crossfield balls to Mane, them down the line balls to Salah, and them guys would just run onto it. And that's what made them so dangerous. Even him from corners, whipping it into like Van Dijk and Matip and all those guys. So yeah, he was a valuable asset. Even though he had deficiencies in his game, he couldn't really 1v1 defending. He couldn't really defend. But because he still had those, like I said, because he had the delivery, because he could shoot and he could take set pieces, he was still a valuable asset for Liverpool. He started every single game basically. So yeah, even with like the top players in other positions, like even I would say a guy like KDB. KDB isn't the most well-rounded in terms of. I still think there are midfielders who are better than KDB, like in like the tight space, in like the small pockets. So take like Odegaard for example. Like Odegaard is probably better than KDB in terms of like the small controlling getting the ball in like tight spaces, little he's probably a better dribbler than him as well. But the thing that separates KDB from like most of the other like number 8s or number 10s is that this guy delivery is crazy. His delivery from like set pieces is crazy. He can pass the ball and he can shoot from outside the box. That's probably the one. The shooting from outside the box is probably like that's probably the main thing. Like not many number 10s really can just when it drops to them on the edge of the box, you just know it's cash money with KDB. You just know what time it is. Like for example, the game against Newcastle when he came back from injury, what's it called? Literally came, just got the ball, took a few steps, and just hit it from outside the box, bottom corner. Then delivered that ball to Oscar Bob. Crazy, like no other midfielder is pretty much coming on and doing that. So yeah, just little things. Even though he might have little flaws in his game, like he's not the best on the half turn as well, but still those one or two or three special qualities just puts him above the rest. And this goes for so many players in the Prem. This goes for so many players in football. You can say this about Haaland. You can say this about, Haaland isn't the best at in link up and build up, but anytime the ball falls to that guy, It's cash. Even guys like Lukaku, guys like Beckham. Beckham wasn't really that quick or a great dribbler, but he could deliver that ball. Anytime Beckham got the ball, it was going to one of those strikers' heads. So yeah, this is why I tell young players to what's called focus on your strengths and taking those strengths like a 10 out of 10 rather than trying to work on your weaknesses, rather than like focusing the majority of your training on your weaknesses that are like a 2 out of 10, and at best you can get them to like 5 out of 10. Also, you should still work on them, but I would say the majority of the time, like I would say probably like 70% of the time, you should be working on getting your strengths really, really good, and then the other 30% of your training, that should be like your weaknesses, brushing up on your weaknesses. Because obviously, it's okay to have weaknesses, but you don't want them you don't want it to be at a point where they're literally exposing you. Let's say you're a centre mid and your touch is awful. Please work on that touch, because if someone's giving you the ball and the ball's bouncing off you like a brick wall, you need to work. You really need to work on that. I'm not saying you really need to work on that. You don't have to be like Iniesta or Mahrez bringing the ball down with your touches, but you need to be competent. You need to be able to get that ball in the back touch. The ball just can't be bouncing off you every single time. So yeah, one thing that's really common I hear a lot about, sort of when I was growing up and people were getting chosen to go to academies, I'd always hear somebody say, "Oh yeah, he got chosen to go to academy, but he's only got one quality. He's only got one good thing about him." I would always say, "Oh, he got to an academy, but he's only quick. He's only strong. He's only this. He's only that." But to be fair though, that's the one quality that made him stand out. And academies are more likely to take you if you have like one or two qualities that make you really stand out above like the rest of your teammates. Because if you're just like a 5 out of 10 across the board or a 6 out of 10 across the board, they're not really gonna take notice of you. They're gonna be like, oh, he's all right. But if you have that one or two qualities where it's like a 9 out of 10, academies are more likely going to look at you and be like, all right, cool, like this guy, he has some flaws, he has some things in his game that we need to work on, but we can turn this guy into a real player. Like let's say you're a winger, or let's say we have a winger he's quick and he can dribble, but he can't really shoot for his life, and he doesn't really know like when to pass. His decision making is bad. But if he's got that pace and that dribbling, academies are still gonna take him on and be like, all right, we can use his pace and his dribbling. We just need to work on his fundamentals, on his decision making, and his shooting, and we can turn him into a real player. That's what's more likely gonna happen, to be honest. Like even I've seen this with my own brother as well. Like so basically, my one of my brother's teammates got scouted for an academy, and obviously I was looking at it like he was a decent player. He's a decent player, you know what I'm saying? But he really only had like pace about him, and he was tall as well. I feel like my brother was better technically. I don't want to be biased in it, but I feel like my brother was just a more well-rounded player, just like a better technical player, better overall player. But obviously, that his teammate got scarred literally because he was quick and he was tall as well. So the academy was probably looking at him like, yeah, he's got some flaws in his game. Maybe he isn't the best technically, but he's tall and he's quick. We can use him maybe as a centre back, as a winger, and we can improve those technicals. Once he comes training with the academy, he can. They're probably thinking once he comes train with us, we can just improve those technicals. We can get his first touch cleaner. We can get his passing cleaner, his shooting as well. Then obviously, so he was at the academy for like what 3 months, and then 3 months after, I saw him play a game, and trust me, they literally improved his technical so much. Like I remember he played a game. He came back to my brother's team to play a game for them in a cup, and I remember he scored 2 goals, and the first goal was dirty. I remember I think he stepped over the ball and he nutmegged the guy, and he literally put it through the keeper's legs. I was thinking, yo, like they've improved this guy like crazy. Like his technicals are now so much improved. And yeah, literally that's what happens when guys get into academy. They literally just take raw talent, guys who have those sort of one or two traits that are like a 10 out of 10, and then just mold them, basically just mold them into diamonds. So that's why I say that focus on your strength. If you're a young player like under the age of 15, focus like heavily on your strengths instead of like using all your time in training to just focus on your weaknesses. Like get really good at your strengths, because that's more likely going to get you scouted than if you, like I said, if you're just a 6 out of 10 across the board. You're more likely going to get scouted if you have like one, two or three traits which were like a 9 out of 10, and then the rest of your game is probably like a 3 out of 10. But you're more likely going to get scouted. Academies are still going to look at you like, all right, this kid has potential. Like he's got 3 really good traits. If we just improve this, and this, we could turn him into a real player. That's pretty much the mentality of academy coaches. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Literally, Just spend when you're training. I would say just say spend 70% of your training getting those strengths up, getting them to an elite level, and then obviously spend the last 30% or spend 30% of the trainers just working on your weaknesses, just making sure that they're not like a 1 out of 10. Try to get them to like a 3 out of 10 at least. But yeah, just work on them 30% of the time. And yeah, in my opinion, that's more likely to get you scouted. So that's all I got to say about that. I've been JT, and I'm out.